New Elmwood, quaint, quiet, dead wrong. People dying in their sleep, nightmares becoming reality. Sam and Dean Winchester, hunters of the supernatural, rolled into town.
Smells like a case.
The local sheriff, a weary-looking man named Brody, was skeptical.
Kids, we got enough problems here without ghost stories.
Sam, ever the diplomat, showed him photos of the victims, pale, lifeless, each with a look of terror etched on their faces.
Nightmares?
Sheriff Brody sighed, rubbing his temples.
All right, boys, let's say I believe in your monster theories. What kind of monster kills you in your sleep? The kind that likes to play.
The library was their usual first stop. Lore, legends, local whispers. This time the whispers led them to a name, Freddy Krueger.
Burned boogeyman, preys on teenagers in their dreams. Sounds like a load of...
He trailed off, eyes widening as he scanned the article.
What is it, Dean?
Dean pointed to a date on the article.
Springwood murders happened 30 years ago.
Sam looked up, eyebrows furrowed.
Freddy Krueger should be dead.
Dean slammed the book shut, a grim expression settling on his face.
Guess some things refuse to stay buried.
The scent of burnt flesh and cheap cologne lingered in the air. A chill snaked down Dean's spine. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that they were dealing with something truly evil. The flickering neon sign of the motel cast an eerie glow on the room, creating an unsettling atmosphere that seemed to seep into every corner. Dean checked the salt lines meticulously, a nervous habit he couldn't shake. Each grain of salt was a barrier, a fragile line of defense against the horrors they faced.
Ready, Sammy? Dean's voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt.
Sam, eyes closed, took a deep breath, centering himself for the battle ahead. He knew the stakes were high.
Let's go find ourselves a nightmare. Sam's voice was filled with determination, masking the fear that gnawed at him.
They were going into the dream world, the hunting ground of Freddy Krueger, a place where reality twisted and fear reigned supreme. Dreams swirled around them, a chaotic landscape of fear and fantasy. Every step they took felt like wading through a thick fog of dread. Twisted metal playground equipment rose from a churning sea of blood, a grotesque parody of childhood innocence. A child's laughter, high and piercing, echoed through the air, sending chills down their spines. Then the laughter turned into a guttural growl, a sound that seemed to come from the depths of a nightmare.
Show yourself, Krueger! Dean's voice was a mix of anger and defiance, echoing through the dark.
A voice, raspy and laced with amusement, answered from the shadows. It was a voice that promised pain and suffering.
Well, well, the Winchester boys, come to die in my world? Freddy's voice dripped with malevolence, each word a taunt.
A figure emerged from the darkness, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. The air around him seemed to crackle with menace. The glint of a hooked glove caught the flickering light. The hunt was on, and there would be no mercy in this twisted realm. Freddy lunged, his claws slashing through the air. Dean dodged, the scent of burnt flesh stinging his nostrils. Sam, armed with a dream-forged blade, met Freddy's attack with a grunt. Their blades clashed, sparks flying in the darkness. The battle raged, a chaotic dance of desperation and fury. Just as Dean landed a blow, a guttural roar shook the dreamscape. The air grew thick and heavy. A stench of rotting flesh and gasoline filled their nostrils. Out of the shadows, a hulking figure emerged, wielding a chainsaw that sputtered and roared to life. Leatherface.
What the?
Dean stammered, his eyes wide with disbelief. Freddy, caught off guard, let out a string of curses.
You weren't invited to this party, Skinface.
Leatherface, unfazed by Freddy's words, swung his chainsaw in a wide arc. The nightmare just got a whole lot worse. Trapped between a burnt boogeyman and a chainsaw-wielding maniac, Dean and Sam found themselves in a fight for their lives.
This is my dream, you overgrown house pet.
Freddy, enraged by the interruption, turned his attention to Leatherface. Leatherface, unmoved by Freddy's taunts, revved his chainsaw menacingly. The two monsters clashed, a whirlwind of blades and fury.
We need to get out of here.
Dean panted, wiping the sweat from his brow.
This is their fight, not ours.
But escape, in the ever-shifting landscape of the dream world, was easier said than done. The ground beneath their feet began to crumble, the dream collapsing in on itself. They were running out of time. Dean, ever the strategist, saw an opportunity in the chaos.
Play it smart, divide and conquer.
Sam nodded. Understanding flashing in his eyes, they charged forward, splitting up and using the shifting terrain to their advantage. Dean lured Leatherface towards a crumbling chasm, the ground groaning under the weight of the hulking figure. Meanwhile, Sam led Freddy on a chase through a maze of twisted trees, their branches reaching out like grasping claws. The dream world, fueled by fear and imagination, became their weapon. Dean, with a final burst of adrenaline, jumped across the chasm just as the ground gave way beneath Leatherface. The monster's roar echoed up from the abyss as he plummeted into the darkness. One down, one to go. Sam, despite his intelligence and agility, was no match for Freddy's raw power within the dream realm. Every move he made seemed futile. Every strike he attempted was effortlessly countered by Freddy's overwhelming strength. He stumbled back, Freddy's laughter echoing in his ears, a haunting reminder of his helplessness. The sinister sound seemed to reverberate through the very fabric of the dream world, amplifying his fear.
You can't win, boy. This is my world. Here, I am the master, and you are nothing but a pawn in my game.
Just as Freddy was about to strike, a surge of power coursed through Sam. It was unlike anything he had ever felt before, a raw, untamed energy that seemed to come from deep within his soul. He felt it first in his hands, a tingling sensation that spread through his entire body. The energy was electric, almost alive, and it filled him with a newfound strength and determination. The dream world around him seemed to shimmer and bend to his will. The once oppressive environment now felt malleable, as if he could shape it with his thoughts. Sam realized, with a start, that the fear and chaos of the dream were fueling him, amplifying his abilities. The more he embraced the nightmare, the stronger he became. He was awake within the nightmare, and his anger was a weapon. His rage, once a liability, was now his greatest asset, a force that could rival even Freddy's power.
What's happening? This can't be.
Freddy, sensing the shift in power, hesitated. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind, and he realized that he might not be as invincible as he thought. It was a fatal mistake. The moment of hesitation was all Sam needed to seize control. Sam, eyes blazing with a power he never knew he possessed, unleashed a wave of pure, focused energy. The force was immense, a manifestation of his will and determination. Freddy screamed as he was thrown back, his form flickering like a dying flame. The once dominant nightmare was now at the mercy of Sam's awakened fury. Dean, drawn by the surge of energy, watched in awe as Sam stood over a weakened Freddy. The tension in the air was palpable. Every breath they took seemed to echo in the disintegrating dream world. The dream world around them was disintegrating, the edges of reality bleeding through. It was as if the very fabric of their nightmare was unraveling, threads of fear and hope intertwining. They were close, so close to escaping this nightmare. Every step they took felt like a step towards freedom, yet the shadows of their fears still loomed large.
You think you've won? Freddy's voice was a guttural snarl, filled with rage and defiance.
But Freddy, even on the brink of defeat, was still dangerous. His eyes burned with a malevolent fire, refusing to be extinguished. He lunged at Sam, desperation lending him strength. His claws gleamed menacingly, aiming for a final deadly strike. Dean yelled, racing towards his brother. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a desperate plea to reach Sam in time. But he was too far away. The distance between them seemed to stretch endlessly, a cruel trick of the fading dream world. Just as Freddy was about to land a fatal blow, a familiar roar split the air. It was a sound that brought both hope and terror. Leatherface, battered but not broken, emerged from the chasm, his chainsaw sputtering back to life. The sight of him was both horrifying and relieving. He slammed into Freddy, the force of the impact sending both monsters crashing through the remnants of the dream world. The collision was cataclysmic, a final clash of titans. Then, silence. The dream world dissolved around them, leaving Dean and Sam standing in the harsh fluorescent light of the motel room. The sudden shift was jarring, but it signaled their return to reality. They were safe. The nightmare was over. S1, media, brothers hugging in relief, intense emotional reunion, man shouting, "Sammy! Sammy!" Dean rushed to Sam's side, his heart pounding in his chest.
You okay, Sammy?
He asked, his voice laced with concern. Sam took a deep breath, the after effects of the dream world still clinging to him.
Yeah, I think so.
They looked at each other, the weight of their experience settling upon them. They had faced their fears, stared death in the face, and emerged victorious. But victory, they knew, often came at a price. The dream world might be gone, but the scars it left behind, both physical and mental, would linger. They had looked into the abyss, and the abyss had looked back. And in that exchange, something within them had changed. The Impala roared to life, its engine a comforting rumble in the pre-dawn light. They were leaving New Elmwood, leaving behind the nightmares and the bloodshed. But as they drove, Dean couldn't shake the feeling that a part of him was still trapped in that twisted dream world. He glanced at Sam, who stared out the window, his expression unreadable.
The hunt was over, but the fight, they knew, was far from finished. There would be other nightmares, other monsters lurking in the shadows, and they would be there, the Winchester brothers, ready to face them. Because that's what they did. They hunted the things that go bump in the night.
Even if it meant facing their own demons in the process. The open road stretched before them, a promise of adventure and danger. They were hunters, and the hunt never truly ended.